Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Literary Tuesdays. I'm your host, Marilyn Alexander. I am a publisher and the founder of Destined to Publish. Destined to Publish is a Christian-based, independent, hybrid publishing company with a focus on literary coaching. With almost 20 years in the publishing industry, soon we will celebrate the milestone of having published our 400th author. And our authors are both nationally and abroad. Our goal is to take each and every one of our authors by the hand and walk them step by step along their publishing journey. Because I believe more than anything else that just because you are self-publishing does not mean you have to publish by yourself. And today we are walking a journey with one of my very, very, very favorite authors, Deborah Anthony, and her book, Knowing, is the perfect start to January of 2022. So let's take a moment and listen to our conversation and launch you into your 2022. Take a listen.
Okay.
Hey, Deborah.
Hi.
How are you?
I am doing okay right
That's
now.
good. That is good. I am glad to have had you on our broadcast now twice in 1 month, which is incredible. So today, this is the beginning of January 2022. And so I wanted to have on this month books about vision, books about understanding what God has for you, because people get stuck in January. They make all these resolutions, and then come maybe January 15th, you kind of over the resolutions. So I wanted to talk to you today about your book, Knowing. And so this is, I know that we've discussed who you are in our previous broadcast, but can you tell us a little more, tell us a little something about yourself today for those that are viewing?
Yes, I can. So I have had the pleasure of being a part of the Destined to Publish team for the last almost 5 years. And I am a wife, a mom, and a business owner. I have been doing entrepreneurship for the last 15 years almost. Wow. And I have had a passion for seeing businesses grow, develop, and helping business owners lead in leadership and development, and have had a passion of coaching authors and helping people really birth their vision. So I would say that I'm a builder.
Yes.
Is what I do. I enjoy building people, building brands, and building books. So I would say that I am a builder. I love that God has gifted me to be able to help people build, to have, when they have a vision, to really help them figure out what is the needs, what are the infrastructures that are needed in order to have a successful business or launch their book. And I also, on the side, I help build people. So I do a little bit of life coaching, helping people through life circumstances. And, I feel that those are just my reasonable service of just the things that God has given to me to be able to give back unto him to bless his people.
I love all of that. And it is incredible, all of the things that you do. And I think I have experienced a lot of those things. So I'm grateful just for our sisterhood together. And but today we're here to talk about Knowing. But before we go to Knowing, you are actually a 4-time author. Can you tell us about your previous 3 books?
Yes. So my first book was Fully Surrendered, and it's a 30-day devotional of really learning to surrender to God, surrender to his process, and taking yourself out of the equation and really giving him a full surrender. The second book is Colorful Colorful is sharing about me being a woman, a wife, and a mother, and really encouraging just women at various stages of life. You may be a woman, you may want stages of life, you may be a wife, and of course, a mother, and where you're in, depending on what stage your children are, that role changes. And so, really speaking to that. And then, Beyond the Limits is a book of just encouraging leaders who find themselves very passionate, but not realizing they don't have boundaries in their passion. And so, not going beyond the limits that God has called you to do, having God-like character, God-like integrity, and God-like accountability. And so, really challenging leaders to really to not go beyond the limits, and knowing. Interesting. The book we're talking about today, I wrote a year ago, or it launched a year ago, and in the beginning of January 2020. And who knew that my journey of knowing would come to some life challenges or life ups and downs, where I really had to know him. Come November 8th of 2021, I lost my son, and I really have to say, if I didn't know him, I don't know where I would be right now. So sometimes God allows you little information, just a little insight to what he's doing. And all I knew is at the beginning of 2021, I needed to know him. And I'm thankful that I took a lot of people through the knowing journey. And so I love talking about knowing. It's a great segment into talking about knowing.
It is. And the beginning of the year, like I said, it crafts sort of how your year will walk. And knowing is a devotional. And for you, this is your second devotional. I love devotionals, but also like, books where they are just the informational book. Why did you decide for knowing that this would be a devotional? Because most books, depending on your crafting, can become a devotional, but this one specifically, why did you decide for this one to be a devotional?
Well, one of the things that I recognized when I honestly, this book started out just on the plane, and God had said kind of a few words to me, and it kind of challenged me. And I said, and I didn't know it was going to be a book. That's kind of how my book started out, is just him talking to me. So just FYI, he was talking to me, and he said to me, he said, Deborah, you act like you don't know me. And he was like, you've been serving me your entire life, but you don't know me. And I was like, well, help me, tell me a little bit more. And he said, you act like a child with no daddy because of the way you respond to life. And sometimes we've been doing this thing so long that we've become so familiar, just like our children become real familiar with us. And you have to kind of pull them back and say, hold on, I'm still mom. I'm still your dad, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, when life challenges would hit me, he was challenging the way I responded. And so many times, your lack of knowing either him or knowing insight to something will cause you to overreact,
Yeah.
or not react, or act out of character, if you will, because you lack information. And this 21-day journey is a journey of getting to know him. So it's not even, it's a short journey, but it's just a journey for you to start wetting your taste buds to saying, do I know him? I mean, I know I've been in church my whole life, or I know that I have been serving him a long time, but do I really know him well enough that when life offers me some things? And I really wanted this book I launched during a pandemic, because I really felt like we as believers really was challenged with fear, really challenged with, was God really paying attention to what was happening? And I really believe that there was some soul searching that needed to happen. And I believe that everyone should do this in the beginning of the year. Just go on a kind of that soul searching journey of what's really in my soul. I mean, we mentally tell our things a lot of things, but
Mhm.
what is in the depths of our soul, because it's our it acts out in our behaviors, it acts out in our responses. So no matter what our mouth says, our actions and how we respond to things, how we react to life, really sometimes tell how well do we know God and how
Absolutely.
well do we trust him. What is our faith really in? Is it circumstantial? What is it really built in? And I'm telling you, that's what knowing does. It gets you on a track. I'm not gonna say you get finished, because it's one of those things.
It's a
It's very
journey.
personal.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you used earlier the word build, and knowing it is a building.
Mhm.
So, even in the way that the 21 days are crafted, and I want to say crafted because specifically they build on each other.
Yeah.
You can take them out of order, but if you go in order, you will build that relationship. So just to talk about even some of the chapters, the first chapter, and the reason why I love this book in January is because the first chapter specifically is knowing vision.
Mm.
So, in all of that, and everything that we're going through, and in everything that we're doing, even as we look into the beginning of a year, knowing vision gives us purpose, and it allows us a pathway of understanding which direction that we're going in. So, specifically for you, was knowing vision, was that crafted to be number one, or how did that actually, when you were writing, what happened in your process?
Well, many times we believe vision is seen with our natural eye and being able to see, And honestly, I correlate vision with seeing, only because when you don't know where you're going, you really become very lost, and you kind of become the inability to go beyond where you are. And so vision for me is so critical, that you begin to get a vision. And knowing vision is not knowing your vision. You really have to begin to say, you know what, God, I need you to change my vision, because
Yes.
what I see, the lens in which I see life, is sometimes toxic, sometimes tainted, sometimes perverted. When we begin, and so knowing God through your tainted vision can sometimes cause you to derail your own self. And so, one of the things that I wanted each person that took the time to really know vision is, check your vision first to see what are, when and I have on glasses, but if my lenses are dirty, my vision is tainted. I
Yes.
cannot see clearly what I need to see. And so many times we're worshiping and serving a perfect God through our dirty lenses. And
Absolutely.
we have to take off ours and say, God, give me your lens. Give me your vision. Like, what do you see? And who do you see that I am? How do you see? Where do you see my life? Because I know I've tried it my way. And many of us, when we're kicking off a new year, we're setting a lot of goals, and we're setting ourselves up really for failure, because we're aligning ourselves with our desires. And sometimes our desires are not his desires, and they're not aligned. And so as you kick off this 2022, align your vision with his vision. And where do we get that vision from?
Yes.
Honestly, we get our vision from his word. We get our vision from spending time with him. We get our vision through submitting ourselves to accountability, and having people in our life that sharpens iron, and having people in our life where you get a coach that really helps you say, you know what, challenge the places in me that I've become stagnant in, challenge the places in me where I just can't see beyond my own experiences.
Yeah, and I love that, and it's especially the your correlation between your lenses, and specifically whether or not you have glasses. The best way for me to understand the direction of God is for me to close my eyes, because when
Mhm.
I'm looking through my eyes, I won't, I'm looking through all of the things that have brought me to this point, and trying to craft and plan. And specifically, that is not where God is. God is, his still small voice, has nothing to do with my natural vision. It is all, where he is and how he is pointing me. And I have to get, we have to get still enough to
Yes.
understand that. And sometimes there's so much going on in our gateway, in our eye gateway, that we don't hear that voice. So I love that. And so even as we go through, and a lot of this book, even in understanding, it's amazing that it was launched in 2020, and you're launching in 2020. Little did you know how 2020 would go. And so I like the fact that even in this book, it addresses so much of like the interior parts of us that 2020 brought to a head. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah.
Um, it really does, point out some specific things, like knowing he never left. So I know for me, I've never been in a I have never been in a place where I had to really specifically pull on that until 2020 hit, and it's like, Lord, where are you? And
Mhm.
understanding that, Lord, you never left.
Yeah.
So specifically talk to us about that, especially the fact that the prophetic portion of this book really helped in bringing 2020 to an understanding for a lot of us.
You know, I think that we, in the beginning of the book, I talk about changing your relationship of how you see him, as not just as the savior of the world, but seeing him as daddy God, Abba, and changing that relationship. There's a dependency when you, and many of us have not had great dad experiences, father experiences. And so we treat God how our natural father treated us, whether it was, and sometimes good, bad, or indifferent, our lens of how we view our father God is through that natural father experience. And so our dependency, our filter is really tainted. And so knowing he never left is really understanding his sovereignty,
Yes.
understanding that he is a sovereign God, and that he never left you. He never forsake you, meaning he's been standing there all along,
Time.
even when you didn't pick him and you didn't choose to serve him, even beyond your wildest imagination or dreams. No matter what circumstance you find yourself, he is constant. He is. And so I love the fact that God finished this thing before he began it. He left nothing up for our imagination. And so it's almost like as we begin to journey through life, we there's an embracing and an acceptance of, he never left me. I may have left him many times. I may have walked away and said, I don't want to do that no more. But knowing that he never left is a confidence. It's an assurance. It's a holding on to, I look at where I sit even right now, and it's just January, and I was looking at, doing a lot of grief work and really trying to not intellectually process grief, because it is definitely an emotion. But as I have sat with God and spent time with him, one of the things that he's assured me of is, if you didn't have me, you would not be able to even speak right now.
Yeah.
And so knowing he's there, knowing that he never left me, and that he's standing in the midst of my grief, has been an assurance, and that sovereignty of God saying, you knew I would be here even right now,
Yeah.
and you haven't left me. Like, you knew where I would be sitting right in this moment, but you never left me even now. And so that for me gives me comfort. It gives me a confidence. It gives me ability to get up every morning and say, God, you're still here. Long as you're here, I'm good.
I'm
And
good.
I think that right there is something that you have to develop in your relationship with the Father. It's something that you have to say, okay, as long as you're here, even if you're in my pits, he said, David said, if you make your bed in my bed, if I make my bed in hell, you'll be there. If I make my bed in heaven, you're there. There's that assurance that brings peace.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of times people, no matter where we are, we need that assurance. It's like, circumstances are real, and things around us speak loud in our ear. And so it is that inner confidence that we need, to understand that, God, it doesn't matter. You knew I would be here. It's just as you said, before I was formed in the belly, you knew me. and you knew my path, and you knew every single day that I would have to walk, and you met me at this moment.
Yeah.
So even in all of those things, understanding that voice, and that's one of the chapters. One of the days in the devotional is knowing His voice, knowing that you're more than enough. All of those things, understanding who God really is, because essentially the 21 days in this book specifically point out the parts of God. I'm looking for a word that I cannot find, but I like that here. If you're studying and if you're open to it, it will ground you.
One of the things that we sing a lot of songs, and I won't name any because I will just say we sing a lot of songs. And a lot of our songs in the last decade or so have been about God getting to know us.
Yeah.
He knows how many hairs are on your head. He
Absolutely.
doesn't need to get to know you.
Yes.
Honestly, if we would spend more songs trying to get to know Him, our lives will be different. Our victories will be different. Our trials will be different. Our life, the trajectory of our life will change. But many of us are saying, He knows me. He knows my heart. Yeah, He does. And you need to get to know His heart.
Yes.
And it's hard. It's harsh. But honestly, when we are challenged and we fall out like little kids, have you ever seen that little kid in the store that falls out on their parent? And you're like, oh, if that was my child, ooh, that's how we react to life with God.
Yeah.
That's that child. And I want you to picture yourself being that child in the floor in the store, kicking and screaming because they can't have something.
Yeah.
And then you look at your own life and say, God, do I react like that?
Yes.
When you tell me no, when you say not right now, when you say, wait a minute, hold on, stop, slow down. I'm not giving you that right now. And I mean, you literally would think the world was coming to an end because your desires are not in alignment with God's desires for you. And if I can make one challenge for 2022, get to know Him, get to know His ways, get to know how He think, get to know what makes His heart happy, because we're so busy fulfilling something of the lust of our flesh. This lust of this flesh is so temporal that you're not sowing into an eternal work of grace. And if you begin to say, you know what, God, show me what's temporal. And this flesh and blood is temporal, but this spirit man is eternal. And I believe that if you do the life work, I am an avid life work. Do the life work. 2022, do the life work. Do the life work on your soul. Do the life work on your spirit. Do the life work in them emotions, in that mind. Do the life work. And as you do the life work, and knowing it's just one of those books that are not just spiritual, but natural, doing the life work of saying, God, show me me. Show me where I don't know you, so that I can be transformed and I can become more like you, and not you get to know me.
Absolutely. I love that. And it even in the book, it specifically talks about these matters of the heart, but it also talks about being on the mountain. And it talks about, how, I think one of the things you say, that it is amazing how the hardest part of our journey seems to be walking through the valleys of our lives, even though, if we're honest, we're closer to God in our trials and in the things that we suffer.
That bless me. I need to pick that book back up. For real.
So, but it is that is one of those things where, we need to understand that, God is not just in our pain, He's also in our victories.
He is.
And that it is amazing that, when our lenses are clean and we can see the path and the journey that He's walking us on, that we can understand that, out of these pains and out of these situations that we're in, that God is in our victories, and He causes us to triumph. He causes us to be victorious in everything. And so, knowing a 21-day devotional in quietness and confidence is your strength. Yeah. And I am grateful again, Deborah, that you've been able to share a little time with us. And I'm also grateful that even in what we're doing now, January 2022 can be your best year. And I'm
I
speaking
believe that.
those that are ready and God has birthed something in you. This is the time to get to know him and be intentional about your relationship with him. And in your relationship with him, he will birth many, many things. So, Deborah, thank you so much for being here. Do you have any parting last words?
Thank you for the opportunity. I have been very quiet, so you're pulling me out of my quiet place to be, and it's only because it's you that I'm coming out of my quiet place because I realize that many times we're very gifted and very talented people, and sometimes we need to kind of get quiet so God can heal the places in us that we've encountered. And definitely I am in a healing place of just letting God heal the places in my heart through the loss of my son, and just allowing God. But I know that God uses everything. So there's not one thing in my life I'm not going to give him. So I give him this, even through this time with you. I give him all of who I am, that he may be glorified. And that is my prayer. That is my cry, is that no matter what you're encountering, no matter what you're experiencing, that you will see God. And I can't say that I woke up like this. I would have to say that through years of learning to trust him and leaning on him and getting to know him, if I had not taken that knowing journey with what was in front of me, you all probably would be scraping me off the floor, just based on circumstances. But for his grace and for his mercy, I was not consumed. And
Yes.
so thank you, Jesus, for that. And thank you for this opportunity. And I will see you all soon.
All right. Deborah, I normally give a call to action for authors. You want to do that today?
So whatever is in you must come out. And
Come
so
on.
if you need to write, this is your year. 2022 is your year to, you don't know. My book, Knowing, was out of obedience. What book is in you that must become out, because it needs to change someone's life or change your life. And so sign up today, have a consultation with us. We would love to have you
Yes.
be a part of our cohorts that we have. We're ready for new authors. So join us. You won't be disappointed.
2022 is your year, and we believe, God, that whatever's in you is coming out. So walk over to our website today, www.destinedtopublish.com. Click on that Let's Talk link and let's talk. It is always a pleasure to talk with our authors, especially when our author is our own sister and friend, Deborah Anthony. So I want to invite everyone in our viewing audience to head over to Amazon and pick up your copy of Knowing, the 21-day devotional. And pick one up for you, but also pick one up for a friend. It is a great way to take the journey together, even as a Bible study. So head over to Amazon, pick up your copy of Knowing, and take the 21-day devotional journey together. And I'm Marilyn Alexander for Literary Tuesdays and Destined to Publish. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.